Hello everyone. So today I'm going to be talking about all of the new products that Jones Road has released since the beginning of 2023. And I have all of the shades of all of these products that are appropriate for my own light skin tone, so I'll be demonstrating all of those. This includes 3 shades of the new loose face powder, 3 shades of their powder bronzer, the 3 shades that were released of the Just A Sec eyeshadow, 4 shades of lipstick that are new, and also the Miracle Balm in the shade Miami Beach, which is a bright coral type shade. And I will be trying on all of these products in 3 separate makeup looks of the kind that I use at home in my real life. So thank you very much for joining me. So let's talk first a little bit about these products before we get to putting on the actual makeup. The newest product is the face powder, and this is available in 8 different shades, and it's based on cornstarch. And I think that that's interesting because I think that the reason that they did this is because it is designed to absorb some of the oil from their the foundation. So if that is a product that has been annoying to you or that you've been concerned about because it's too sticky, then I think that this product works really, really well with it. In addition, the cornstarch has been good for me in terms of just using on my bare skin when I go outdoors and spend time in the summer when I'm sweating a bit. So I have found this to be a very nice product for that as well. It's not a product that I would wear so much for other occasions. For the winter, I tend to use products that don't contain cornstarch because I don't want it to absorb all of the oil on my face during that period of time. But for the summer months and for use with the foundation, I think this has been a great product for me so far. So in terms of the shades of the powders, there are 8 different shades. One of them is translucent, so if you like a translucent powder, then that's available. Then there are 4 shades that are available for different skin tones that are more on the neutral side. And then there are 3 additional colored powders. So 2 of them are pink, one is a light pink and one is a dark pink, and then there's also a bright yellow. And so the purpose of these powders apparently seems to be that if your skin is overly red, such as from irritation, then the yellow is designed to be able to take that down. On the other hand, if your skin is on the sallow side, then the pink colors are designed to warm that up or brighten it up a little bit. So the light pink is for people with a lighter skin tone, and then the darker pink is designed for people with a darker skin tone. So Jones Road is owned by Bobbi Brown, who left the Bobbi Brown company in 2016, and now she has started her own new company, which is Jones Road, in 2020. And I think that these new colored powders are another one of her innovations to allow especially older women to use less makeup on their skin. So I think that when women get older, they often do get skin that's a little bit more sallow looking because they don't have as much blood coming to the surface with the capillaries. And so therefore, if you add just a tiny little bit of pinkness to it, then I think that that is designed to create a look of youth. On the other hand, if your skin is irritated, and mine can be irritated quite frequently from either the heat or from irritating things that I put on my skin or just in general acting up, that the yellow powder can help to address that a little bit. So I think that these can be both very, very helpful to people to correct minor issues on their skin without their needing to cover their whole face with foundation. So I really think that that's a breakthrough idea, and I'm liking the way that it's working so far. Now the new Just A Sec eyeshadows, there are 3 new colors. One is a dark brown, and then there's a taupe brown and a baby pink. And I think that all of those have worked really, really well for me so far. So I have liked those very much. Now, in terms of the bronzer, I have 3 of the lightest shades. And I think that she purposely created the bronzers to be appropriate for many different people. So the lightest shade is Dusty Rose, and it's actually quite pink, almost as pink as a blush. So I think that if you have very light skin tone, it looks like what would naturally happen to your skin if you actually went out into the sun. So you probably wouldn't look tan, you would probably just look a little bit on the pink side. So that's the idea with that one. But if you have darker skin, then it also can serve well as a light blush as long as you don't use too much of it. And I think the same thing is the case for for the light tan shade, and I did a video before where I talked about that particular bronzer. I do think it has a bit of a reddish clay look to it, so that also has a bit of a sunburnt look to it, or a windswept type of a look that I think is very attractive, as long as I don't use too much of it on my face. And then the third shade is just tan, and I think that that one is a little bit more on the peachy neutral type of a shade, and I can use that one as well. So I will show you all three of those. And there are several more shades of bronzer, but I think that those are too dark for me, so I'm not going to be talking about those today. And then one of the complaints with the lip tints up until now was that there weren't any neutral colors. So they finally did introduce 4 new neutral colors in the lip tints, and so I have all 4 of those, and I will be trying those on. And the final product that I have is the new Miracle Balm. So most of the Miracle Balms that have been released up until now have been on the neutral side, so bronzes and highlighter type shades. There is one that's a cool pink, but the newest shade is a peachy type of a color, which is called Miami Beach, and I feel like I do really well with colors like that, and I've been really happy with how that looks on my skin as well. So I'm going to try on all of these products in 3 fast makeup looks for you, and then in addition, towards the end of the video, I'm going to try on all of the lipsticks that I have from Jones Road, so you can take a look at them and compare them. So this includes a total of 7 of the lip tints, and then I also have 3 lip and cheek sticks that I think also make quite good lipsticks as well. So if you're interested, take a look at that. So what I'm going to do first is to touch up my face using some of my favorite Jones Road products, which is first of all the brow pencil, and then I also have a bunch of their face pencils that I will use as a concealer under my eyes and on my face in general. So the good thing about this brow pencil is that I can do it really, really fast, and that I can not need to necessarily use an eyebrow gel on top of it, because this I think gives a fairly natural look to my eyebrows, even though there's very few eyebrows that I have here. So I will just quickly fill this in, and this is a really great product for people, I think, that have very few eyebrows, or if you have no eyebrows, I think this would be probably by far the best solution on the market. Now for my face, I usually use one pencil under my eyes and then a different pencil on the rest of my face. So the one that I use under my eyes is a color correcting pencil in the shade number 6. And so I will just put this on really fast. So this is kind of a peachy color, and it's a little bit brighter than the other ones. And so I can just kind of buff this in a tiny bit. And then in terms of the other face pencils, I have 4 shades here. I had been using shades that were more on the neutral or the yellow side, but when I showed a picture to the people from Jones Road, one of them suggested that I try a pink shade instead. So I'm going to try that for the first time here. So I'll just swatch them on the side of my face, and we'll see if any of them look better than the others. So the first one that I have here is shade number 4, which I think is more on the yellow side. And then this one is the new one that I purchased, which is supposed to be more on the pink side. And then number 8 is, I think, a neutral. And number 9 is more of a yellowish, I think. And they may be right that that pink one is actually looking appropriate for me, which is kind of odd, because usually I don't feel like pink foundations work very well for me in terms of my general face, but I will give this a try and see how it works blending it in. So to start out with, I'll just blend this into the skin. So I will just go across my face and find any areas that look a little bit red or a little bit uneven, and just use this pencil and cover them up a little bit. Usually I do use a bit of it around my nose, and then I fill in this area where the dark circles kind of come to an end, and usually something up here. Then I will buff this in. And this brush from Jones Road is called the Everything Brush, and I consider it to be sort of like just a buffing brush, and I think that's a good name for it. I think it works well for me in terms of buffing in the face pencils as well as things like blush or foundation. And all that I put on my face before I started, I used a little bit of this Honest Hydrogel Cream, which I think serves as a fairly good primer type of a product. And then I put a little bit of this Jones Road eye cream under my eyes. And I think that Bobbi Brown is right, is that this one serves as a very nice light under eye cream that works really well under the pencils. And the other thing that I will do is put on a little bit of eye primer. So what I use for that generally is a concealer. So right now I have the Say Hydra Beam concealer, but I also like the Kosas one or the Beauty Counter one. And what I like about doing it this way is that it covers over all of the darkness and the unevenness on top of my eyes, as well as serving as a good base for whatever eyeshadow I might put on. And I have found that all of those are fairly gentle products that do not irritate my eyes, whereas a lot of things that I put on my eyelids do irritate my eyes. So in addition to their serving as a nice base for the makeup, I also think they serve as a little bit of protection from the makeup, so that if I have a little bit of irritation to the eye makeup, it doesn't bother me as much. No, it's kind of strange because I feel like that product is looking a little bit on the yellowish side to me. And I don't feel like that used to be the case. So I'm wondering if it might have oxidized. I have had it for maybe over 6 months, so maybe it's time to open a new tube of one of these products. And then the next thing that I'm going to do is just put on a little bit of this pink powder and see how it looks. So this is my first time opening this, and it comes in a container with a plastic lid with little holes on it, so you need to pull this piece of plastic off of the holes so that the powder will come out. And then what I do is close the powder and shake just a little bit into the lid, and that was a little too much, so I'll put a little bit back in there. So I don't have the new Jones Road powder brush, so I will just use this powder brush, which is from Sephora. So let's just see how this goes. And I will just put it very gently over my whole face because I do feel like it's a little bit warm in here, so I'm starting to sweat a little bit. So I do think that if I can put on a little powder just to cover up all of the moisture on my face, then that'll provide a better canvas for everything else. And I don't think that looks bad at all. I would not have thought that this would look this nice. Now it may be that as time goes on and I get a little bit warmer and my face gets a little bit annoyed by my taking off makeup and putting it back on again, that my skin will start to get pink, and so that's why I decided to put this one on first. But I think that's very pretty. I like it a lot. So next I'm going to put on some bronzer, and I guess I will start out with the shade that is the most neutral, which is just called Tan, and it looks like this. So their bronzer brush looks like this. So it's kind of oblong, and I think that the reason for this is because you can either use it like this and put the bronzer all over your whole face, or you can tilt it so that it's much more targeted. So I'm going to start out being a little bit targeted. Now I do like this bronzer, but it does kick up a whole lot of powder when I just barely touch the brush to it. So if you can see in here, there's a whole lot of powder that's gotten loosened up just from my very, very lightly touching my brush to it, which is why I think that this does not last too long and that it tends to run out really fast. So I've already gotten a pan in one of the colors, and I did use that a lot for one of my previous videos, but still, I do think that this formula is a little bit on the soft side. And I kind of do think that in combination with that pink powder, that this is kind of looking okay. I think it might start to be looking too neutral if I had just used this with the regular powder, but I think this is actually looking kind of bright. So I have all 3 of the new eyeshadows, and then I have 2 additional shades. So I swatched these on my hand, and they're all very, very muted colors in my opinion. So the one at the top is the Cool Taupe. The next one is the darker brown color that they just released. In the middle is the pinkish color. Then there is one that I think is called Pewter, and then at the bottom I think that one's called Linen. But it's going on a little bit thicker when I use this brush rather than my finger. So this is just a short, squat brush that's kind of a little dense. This one's from RMS. So these eyeshadows have a good bit of silicone in them, which is what I think gives them that unusual texture. And let's try to just blur it a little bit. And then now let's try the new shade of Miracle Balm. So this is called Miami Beach, and it's definitely a lot brighter than most of the other Miracle Balms that I've tried before. And of course what she suggests is that there's a seal on the top that's almost like wax, and so you need to kind of dig your fingers or a tool into the Miracle Balm and then just take out a little bit. So rather than using my fingers for that, I'm going to use this little spatula that I purchased from Jones Road, and I think this is a very nice little tool. It's not very expensive. So you can just use a small amount of this and dig it out of the product without contaminating this with using your fingers and making it potentially not last as long. So let's just try putting a little bit of this on just like I would blush and see how it works. So as blush goes, this is quite muted, but compared to the other Miracle Balms, it's much brighter. And I do think it gives a very pretty flush to the cheeks. Now, unfortunately, because this contains a lot of essential oils, including rose geranium oil, which I'm allergic to, my face does not do very well with this particular product. So if I were going to be wearing it all day, I would put on a primer, and I still feel that it doesn't really work that well for me, even if I put on a primer. Eventually my face does start to itch. But I would like to wear it because I do think it's very, very pretty. So what I've been working on is to try to figure out some alternatives that work similarly to this product. And so I'm going to do a video where I'm going to discuss that. But I do really like the color of this. I think that's very attractive. And the good thing about these products is that they're kind of hard to mess up. So even though this one is a lot brighter than the others, it still is something that I can just put it on, and then if it doesn't look quite right, move it around a little bit. But it's not going to create a look that's overdone or that's messy or that looks like I'm wearing too much makeup or really very much any makeup at all. And yet, I still think I look a lot better than I do without any makeup on. And then I think if I were going to do one more thing, it might be to put a little bit more emphasis on my eyes. So I don't have a Jones Road mascara that's open. And that mascara worked okay for me, but I do think it was slightly irritating to my eyes, so I'm not going to be buying it again. But I do have these eye pencils, which are also very slightly irritating to my eyes, but I will go ahead and put that on just to finish off this look. This is an eye pencil in the shade Ivy, which is green, so we'll put a little bit of that on. So the problem with this eye pencil, I think, for me, is that it It has cottonseed oil in it, and that tends to be contaminated with glyphosate and other agricultural chemicals. So this is not the best eye pencil for me, but I think that it's okay for me to use for a short period of time anyway. And since it's warm here, I think I could use a little bit more powder. So I'm going to put on a little bit more of that pink powder. I am just amazed that this pink powder looks nice on me. I am really happy I purchased that, I think. And then there are 4 new lipsticks, so I will try on the one that's called Cocoa Rose. So it looks like this, so let's just put this one on real fast. Even though that's supposed to be a neutral lipstick, it kind of looks dark with my complexion, doesn't it? I think that what I'm going to do is to use just a little tiny bit of that as a blush on top of the other stuff that I have on, so maybe the lips don't look quite so dark. It almost looks like it's a muted goth vibe, don't you think so? So brown. I do think I look a lot prettier though. I think this makeup definitely helps me to look a lot better. Okay, so I took off all of my makeup using my beloved Lisa Eldridge makeup remover, and now I will start over by trying out what the new powder looks like on top of the What the Foundation from Jones Road. So first I will put on a primer. And the reason for that is because the What the Foundation includes rose geranium oil, which I seem to be a little bit allergic to. So if I put a primer underneath it, then my face is much less annoyed by it. The primer that I've been using recently is actually the Hydra Pure Tinted Serum from Jane Iredale. So they're selling this as a light foundation, but I've not found that it really deposits any pigment on my skin at all, but I do think that it serves as a nice base for other makeup, and it also helps with the texture of my skin a little bit. And I don't feel that this product annoys my skin at all. So I will just put on a light layer of this and not worry too much about making it smoothed in entirely. And I do like the texture of my skin when I put this on. Okay, so I'll let that dry for a second, and meanwhile I will put on a little bit more eyebrow pencil. So this is the same one as before. And that's very fast, and I think it looks acceptable. And so now let's put on a little bit of What the Foundation. So it comes in this glass jar, and it looks like this in the jar. Some people do complain that it tends to separate on them, but I've not found that to be an issue for me, but I do try to stir it just a little bit before I use it. And I use it with this spatula so that hopefully it will stay non-contaminated for longer. And then I will just dot a very small amount of the product on my skin. And then rub it in kind of gently. And I found if I'm not too aggressive with it when I have a primer underneath it, that my skin tends to be fairly okay with it without getting irritated. And it really only needs a very small amount of this product. And what I think that the real benefit of this product is that it creates a kind of a look of there being a cushion on my skin so that my face looks like it's a little bit more plump and a little bit less gaunt. So that gives kind of a youthful look. So I'm happy about that. And I do feel that when I wear this foundation and then I look at myself in pictures, I think I do look a lot younger. So I feel really happy about that. So that kind of makes it worthwhile to wear the product, even though it's a little annoying, and which is something that I almost never do with anything else. Now I will take that same brush as before and just kind of buff it into my skin a little bit, not too hard. And I'll wait for that to dry for just a second, and meanwhile I'll put that eyeshadow on. So this is the shade Cool Brown, so it's a little bit darker, and so I'll try to be really gentle with it at first and see how it goes so it doesn't kind of take over the entire eye look. Just a little bit on this eye. And the good thing about these eyeshadows is that they do tend to be fairly forgiving. So even though that was looking pretty dark, all I did is just blend it a little bit with my fingers, and now it's kind of mellowed down quite a bit. And so now I'm going to take a little bit of this powder in the shade Light, and this looks quite yellow to me, more yellow than I would have anticipated. So I will take this Sephora brush, and then let's put a little bit on my face in general and see how that goes. I feel like this is looking a little bit yellow even on my face. Now, I did not buy the translucent color, so maybe I should have tried that. I don't think that this one is so yellow that it will look unattractive once I put on a little bit of a blush type product, but I do think that it's more yellow than I would have anticipated. But I do feel like this is really a lovely finish. I think it looks really nice in combination with the What the foundation, and it feels really nice. This is a very fine powder, and it seems to just join with the What the foundation and look like they belong together, which I guess they do. So I'm really happy about that. That does make this foundation to be much more wearable when it has a good powder with it. And so now I think I'll take some of the bronzer that's in the light tan color and add this. This is almost a clay red color, so it definitely adds a little bit of warmth and reddishness to my face, but the problem with this powder, again, is that just tapping the brush on it, suddenly there's a whole lot of loose powder in the container. So I'll try to go really lightly with this and just use it almost like a blush that I put a little bit on my nose. Because I've found before that if I use this particular powder all over my face, including on my forehead, then I start to feel like I've got a real sunburn going on. But I do think that this is quite a lovely finish now, and that I can now use the Miracle Balm on top of it without feeling like there's too much goop on my face. So let me use just a little tiny bit of this Miracle Balm. So I'll put a little bit of this on my cheekbones just as kind of a highlighter and a blush. And I kind of feel like when it comes to Miracle Balms that this brighter shade is very nice. It still is not something that looks garish at all, kind of no matter how much you put on, but I do think it gives a nice little pop of color that's very pretty. And that maybe saves a step in terms of my needing to put on blush in addition to this. Now let's just try a little bit of lipstick. And I think that looks very natural, but also much more pretty than the way that I started out. So I'd be interested in hearing whether or not you think that you like the way that it looks, that my face looks when it has the What the foundation on it, or if it's just when it has the face pencils on it. So I took off all my makeup again, and all I did is put those brows on really fast. So I opened up the yellow powder, so now I can compare that to the light color powder that I also have. So this is the light powder, which I think looks pretty yellow, but is actually kind of a peach, especially if you compare it to this color powder, which is really almost a yellow, a lemon yellow color. So I think that this is a very ambitious color. yellow for them to put out. I've never seen a powder that color before. So I will put on a little bit of the color correcting pencil under my eyes, and then I'll put on a little bit of this shade number 5 as a touch up on other red spots that I see, but I won't do too much of it because I'm hoping the powder will do some of that work. Then I will blend it in with that everything brush and my fingers. And then we'll try a little bit of that yellow powder and see how it goes. And I think that powder does exactly what it's supposed to do. It definitely looks like that part of my face is a lot less red than it was before without my having to do much of anything to it. So let's try the other side. I was really afraid this was going to make me look really sallow looking, but I'm not finding that to be the case at all. I think it's kind of attractive again. Isn't that amazing? And then this time with the bronzer, I'm going to use the Dusty Rose bronzer because that one is kind of on the pink side. It's almost like a blush. So I really think my face is looking okay even with that yellow powder, but it doesn't look quite as red as before. So I'm really impressed with that. That's something. So I'll just put on a little bit of this like I would a very light blush. Just don't want to use it all over my whole face because I will look sunburned. But if I just put a little bit of it on my cheeks, I think it just gives me a little bit of a flush without my really needing to use any blush at all. And then the last Just A Sec eyeshadow that I have is in the color Baby Pink, I think. So let's try putting a little bit of that on. And I don't feel like I usually like pink eyeshadows that much, but in this case, it's so dusty looking that it definitely does not give me the look that I have reddish eyes, or that I haven't been getting enough sleep, or that my eyes are irritated. It's just kind of a pretty taupey pink kind of color. Ooh, I like that. That's surprisingly pretty. And maybe what I will do is take the remaining eye pencil that I have, which is a brown color, and put a little bit of that on just to emphasize my eyes a little bit. And I'll just put it right near the lash line so that it's kind of a substitute for mascara. And then I have 2 more colors of lipstick. One of them is very, very light, and this is the Nude Mauve, I think it's called. And so I'll try putting that on first, and then I'll put the other one on. So this one is almost the natural color of my lips, I think. It's something I can wear every day without really needing to think about it at all. And then this one seems to be called Mocha Rose Shimmer. So it's pretty brown, and it doesn't really have a lot of shimmer to it. I actually feel like this one's more wearable than the Cocoa Rose. And let me put a little bit of the Miracle Balm on the top to give it a little bit more color and a little bit more of a sheen. And then one makeup artist that I watched said that Bobbi Brown always tried to get her to smush her face together and so that the makeup didn't look as perfect. So I'm going to try to do that, see if it looks different. And I kind of like that. So I feel like I look like I'm really wearing almost no makeup at all, but that it nonetheless looks really quite pretty and pretty youthful. So I think that there's something to be said for the fact that these products really do something. They really don't look like you're wearing anything, but there's really a special kind of glow that I am finding it a little bit hard to get from other products.
And so now I'm going to swatch all of my lipsticks.
So I would be interested in finding out whether you have tried any of these Jones Road products, and if so, which ones you have liked or what you have thought of them. In addition, if you have not yet subscribed, then please go ahead and do that. And Coco and I love you very much. Goodbye.